My sister ruined my wedding and then acted like I was the problem. I didn't expect my sister to sabotage my wedding, but looking back, I probably should have. It wasn't some dramatic movie moment. No cake thrown, no gasps in the aisle. It was quieter than that and way more painful. Because the person who tore apart one of the biggest days of my life, she shared my childhood bedroom. Her name is Lana. She's 2 years younger than me. And she's always made sure the world knew we were different. I just didn't think she'd go as far as trying to make my wedding about her. Growing up, people used to say we were opposites. I was the good girl. I followed rules, got decent grades, never liked the spotlight. Lana? She wanted to be the center of everything. She was louder, prettier, better with people. She had a way of turning even my birthdays into her show, and somehow, everyone still loved her for it. I didn't hate her. She was my sister. But there was always this quiet tension between us, a competition I never signed up for. And when I got engaged to David, it felt like the scorecard between us lit up all over again. David and I had been dating for 4 years. We met at a trivia night through mutual friends. And from day one, he made me feel safe. Not flashy, not over the top, just steady, real. The kind of love I used to think only other people found. So when he proposed, I didn't hesitate. The night I told Lana, she blinked twice and went, "Oh, wow, already?" We were 27 and 29, not exactly teenagers, but I laughed it off. Told myself she was just surprised. She didn't ask to see the ring. She didn't hug me. She didn't even ask when the wedding was. Just changed the subject to a guy she matched with on Hinge. Typical Lana. Still, I wanted her involved. I thought keeping her close would keep things calm. So I asked her to be a bridesmaid. She said yes, but made a face like she was swallowing medicine. From that moment on, the red flags started stacking up, and I just kept folding them and putting them in a drawer. She was too busy to come to the dress shopping trip. She rolled her eyes when I picked a venue that wasn't Instagram-worthy. At my bridal shower, she showed up 40 minutes late, wearing a lacy white jumpsuit, and said, "Oops, I forgot the dress code." At first, I thought I was being dramatic. Amira, my best friend and maid of honor, caught my face when Lana walked in and said, "You sure you want her up there with you?" I forced a smile. "She's my sister. It'll be fine." Spoiler, it wasn't. Lana's attitude wasn't just careless. It was competitive. Every time I'd post a wedding update, she'd follow it with a thirst trap or some cryptic, "can't trust anyone these days" tweet. She even made a joke at a family dinner that she'd be the hotter one in the wedding photos. David wasn't blind to it either. One night, as we were reviewing seating charts, he said, "She doesn't seem happy for you." I shrugged. "That's just Lana. She's dramatic but harmless." He looked at me and said, "I hope you're right." Then came the bachelorette party. Low-key weekend trip. Spa day, wine tasting, matching robes, nothing wild. I told everyone ahead of time, please, no strippers, no games with strangers. I just want to relax. Lana rolled her eyes but agreed. That Friday night, we were at dinner, sipping wine and laughing. I excused myself to go to the bathroom. When I came back, Lana was at the bar, full-on flirting with Owen, one of David's groomsmen. I watched her toss her hair and touch his arm like she didn't have a care in the world. When I walked up, Owen looked very uncomfortable. He backed off, and she acted like I was imagining things. "I was just being nice," she said. "You're so uptight sometimes, Rach." I didn't want to ruin the night, so I smiled, went back to the table, and quietly swallowed that knot in my throat. The next morning, Amira pulled me aside. "She's going to cause a scene," she said. "I'm not trying to be messy, but I'm telling you now so you're not blindsided." I nodded. "Thanks. I'll handle it." But deep down, I didn't know if I could. The days leading up to the wedding were a mix of excitement and dread. The venue looked perfect. David was calm, supportive, ready. My parents were excited. Friends were flying in. And then there was Lana, floating in and out of everything like she was doing us a favor. She skipped the final dress rehearsal, showed up to the flower pickup, and tried to tweak the arrangements I'd already paid for. She told my stylist she wanted her hair a little more glam than the other bridesmaids, so she wouldn't blend in too much. She even sent a playlist to our DJ and said, "Play these instead." Trust me, the original list is a snooze fest. I wanted to scream, but every time I brought it up to my parents, they'd say, "Oh, that's just Lana." She means well. She's just excited for you. She just wants to help. No one saw the way she looked at me when no one else was watching. Then came the rehearsal dinner. Lana stood up uninvited and said she wanted to give a toast. I smiled tightly. Maybe she was finally showing some warmth, but no. She started with, Rachel was always the planner, always the one with the boyfriend, the job, the degree. Me? Not so much. People laughed awkwardly. She kept going. I used to joke that Rachel would be the first to get married, but honestly, I didn't think it would happen until she lowered her standards. There was dead silence. Then a couple nervous chuckles. I felt like I was shrinking in my seat. She ended with, but seriously, I hope this lasts forever, for both of you. You deserve it. I mean, most of the time. I stared at my plate. David reached over and squeezed my hand under the table. I nodded like everything was fine. But something had cracked, and I didn't know it yet. But she wasn't done. There's a saying that people show you who they are long before you believe them. Looking back, Lana had been showing me for years. I just didn't want to admit my own sister could be that cruel. By the time the wedding week came around, I was running on fumes. Emotionally and physically, I was juggling last-minute vendors, confirming RSVPs, and trying to keep my parents from killing each other over the seating chart. David was calm as always. He kept reminding me, this is our week. Don't let anyone ruin it. But anyone had a name, and it was Lana. She started acting helpful, too helpful. She'd call vendors without asking me, just to check in. She gave the caterer a revised menu. She made herself because she thought sliders would be more fun than salmon. And when my florist called to ask if I really wanted bright pink accents in my bouquet, I realized Lana had taken it upon herself to add a pop of color. I confronted her about it. She laughed. Oh my God, you're so tense. I was just trying to help. You should thank me. I took a deep breath and walked away. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me crack. But she wasn't done testing me. 2 days before the wedding, she showed up at my dress fitting, uninvited, holding a caramel latte and acting like she'd been there all along. She flopped down on the couch in the studio and said, I just came to see if it still fits. It, like my wedding dress, was some thrift store find I'd squeezed myself into. She then had the nerve to point at the dress and say, you're not going to wear your hair down with that neckline, right? It'll look weird. I ignored her. The seamstress, bless her heart, tried to make small talk, but the air was thick. When I stepped out in the gown, Lana clapped sarcastically. Oh, wow. Classic Rachel. So safe. Amira, who had come with me, shot her a death glare. I smiled at my reflection and said, yeah, I guess simple suits me. That shut her up for maybe an hour. Then came the rehearsal dinner, the night that was supposed to set the tone for the happiest weekend of my life. And instead, it set afire. She was late. Again. Everyone was seated, the food was coming out, and she waltzed in wearing a backless silver dress that looked suspiciously close to white. My mom said, you look beautiful, honey. I said nothing. We did the toasts. David's sister, Jillian, said something sweet that made me tear up. Then once again, Lana stood up, glass in hand, uninvited. I just want to say, she began, smiling way too wide, that I'm so happy for Rachel and David. Really, I am. David looked like he wanted to crawl under the table, she continued. Rachel's always been the type to plan everything, every detail, every decision. She's never been spontaneous, not once. A few awkward laughs. And, I used to wonder if she'd ever find someone who could handle that. But she did. Somehow. More awkward laughter. I could feel heat crawling up my neck. Then she said, I just hope she remembers that marriage isn't about control. It's about compromise. So maybe loosen the reins a little, sis. The room went dead quiet. I forced a smile, raised my glass, and said, thanks, Lana. Then I excused myself to the bathroom before I started crying. Amira followed me. That girl needs therapy. Or an audience. Maybe both. I laughed through the tears. I just need her to make it through one day without a scene. But of course, she couldn't. The morning of the wedding, I woke up to 7 missed calls from my mother. Apparently, Lana had stayed out drinking with some friends and wasn't answering her phone. She was supposed to be at the venue at 8 a.m. for hair and makeup. It was 9:30. When she finally stumbled in, she looked hungover. Oversized sunglasses, coffee in hand, mumbling something about traffic. Everyone was silent. The makeup artist started working on her while I tried not to stare at the wine stain on her wrist. By noon, she was snapping selfies in the mirror like she was the bride, posting on Instagram with captions like, "Big day for my sis! Can't believe it's finally here." The kicker? In one photo, she was holding my veil. Then came the real moment, the one that broke something inside me. My maid of honor, Amira, came running up to me just before the ceremony, pale as a ghost. "You're not going to believe this," she whispered. "Lana's in your suite, wearing your dress." I thought she was joking. "My wedding dress?" She nodded. I stormed down the hallway, heart pounding, opened the door, and there she was. Standing in front of the mirror, my gown pulled halfway up, her hair pinned the same way mine was supposed to be. She was spinning slowly, like she was imagining herself walking down the aisle. I froze. She saw me in the mirror and didn't even flinch. "I just wanted to see what it felt like," she said softly. It should have been me. It should have been me. Those 5 words still echo in my head. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, "Get out." She turned, eyes glassy. "You don't understand." "No," I said. "You don't." Amira stepped in and grabbed her by the arm. "You need to leave." Lana's lip trembled. "You're all overreacting. God, it was a joke." But it wasn't. We all knew it. Amira called David. He came in within minutes, calm but cold. He looked at Lana and said, "You're not welcome at the ceremony. You've done enough." She tried to argue, but he didn't raise his voice. He just repeated, "Go home." 10 minutes later, she was gone. My mom was furious. My dad was confused. "How could you kick your sister out on your wedding day?" I didn't answer. I just asked the coordinator to close the door. I stood there in silence, clutching my bouquet, shaking from the adrenaline. And when the music started and the doors opened for me to walk down the aisle, I felt lighter. Sad, but lighter. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't protecting her anymore. The ceremony went beautifully. David's vows made everyone cry. When we kissed, I remember thinking, maybe we've turned a corner. Maybe this day can still be ours. But I should have known better. Because Lana wasn't done yet. Not even close. I should have known it wasn't over. After Lana got kicked out of my wedding ceremony for trying on my dress and saying it should have been me, I thought maybe, just maybe, that was rock bottom. Maybe she'd go home, sleep it off, and stay away. But this is Lana we're talking about. She doesn't exit quietly. She waits until the curtains back up and the audience is watching. Then she strikes. The ceremony had gone better than I could have hoped. David and I stood under a canopy of lights and soft white florals. Our friends and family, -1, cheered and clapped as we kissed. And for a moment, I thought we made it. I thought we'd taken the hit and survived. The reception hall was glowing. Literally, candlelight, string lights, that warm hum of music and clinking glasses. I even laughed again. Real laughter. The kind I hadn't let myself feel in weeks. David held my hand the entire walk into the reception. He leaned over and whispered, "We made it. No more surprises." Famous last words. We were halfway through dinner when Jillian, David's sister, leaned over and said, "You're not going to believe who just walked in." I followed her eyes toward the back of the room, and there she was, Lana, wearing a white satin dress. It wasn't a wedding gown, but it was close enough to be disrespectful. Tight, floor length, low cut, hair curled like she'd been planning this entrance all day. She hadn't been invited back. She knew that. David had told her to go home. And yet, there she was, gliding through the tables, all eyes on her like it was her event. My stomach dropped. Amira stood up so fast her chair screeched. "No? Nope? I'll get security." I grabbed her wrist. "Wait." And I don't know why I said it. Maybe because I didn't want to cause more drama, or maybe I just needed to see what she was going to pull next. Lana walked straight up to our DJ and said something in his ear. He glanced over at me, confused. Then she took the mic. "Hi, everyone," she said, smiling sweetly. "I'm sorry to interrupt. I know I wasn't technically part of the ceremony, but I just wanted to say a few words." I froze. The room got quiet. David stood up. My mom looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. My dad just kept eating. Lana continued. "I've known Rachel my whole life, obviously. And it's funny. Growing up, she was always the one with the plan. She planned everything, her outfits, her school projects, even her life." Polite laughter. But mostly, silence. So when she got engaged, none of us were surprised. Rachel always gets what she wants. I stood up, slowly, But sometimes what we want isn't what we need. People shifted in their seats. Lana kept going. Marriage is hard, especially when people are rushing into it for the wrong reasons. Especially when they're not being honest, with themselves or each other. I was done. David walked straight up to the DJ table and reached for the mic. We're done here. Lana stepped back, wide-eyed and fake innocent. What? I was just giving a toast. Amira appeared beside us with security already in motion. David looked at Lana and said, "You were told to leave." Lana looked around the room like she couldn't believe people weren't clapping. She even threw in a fake laugh and said, "Wow, can't take a joke, huh?" Then she looked at me, just me, and her expression changed. Cold, flat, like she wanted to burn the whole night to the ground. Security escorted her out. Some guests were whispering. Some were confused. My mom started crying. My dad mumbled something about girls being dramatic. And I just stood there, trying not to shake. David wrapped his arms around me and said, "It's your call. We can end the night. We can keep going. Whatever you want." I looked around at our friends, our chosen family, Amira wiping tears of fury off her cheeks, Jillian clenching her fists. Then I took a breath and said, "Let's dance." And we did. We had our first dance. We cut the cake. We toasted. We laughed. We pushed past the tension like it didn't just happen. But that night, in the hotel room, I finally let myself cry. Not for the wedding. Not even for the speech. I cried because I realized the sister I kept protecting wasn't going to change. I cried because I saw her clearly for the first time. Not as a jealous sibling or a bratty bridesmaid, but as someone who wanted to hurt me. And the worst part? I still loved her, but I couldn't let her near my life anymore. A few days later, after the honeymoon, we got home to voicemails. One from my mom, pleading, "She's your sister. This has gone too far. You both need to apologize and move on." One from Lana, "You humiliated me. I was trying to be part of your day. But whatever, I see how it is. No apology, no regret, just blame." And for once, I didn't take it on. I called my mom back and said, "I'm not talking to Lana until she takes responsibility. And if you keep pushing me to forgive her when she's done nothing to earn it, I'll have to pull away from you too." It was the hardest sentence I've ever spoken, but it was also the most honest. The fallout came slowly. Family gatherings got awkward. Holiday invites suddenly had "just your dad" or "just your mom" on them. Lana played the victim online. Vague posts about betrayal, fake people, sisters who don't support other women. I didn't respond, because I didn't need to defend myself anymore. Amira and Jillian backed me the whole way. They reminded me I wasn't crazy. That setting boundaries wasn't cruel. That standing up for yourself, especially with family, doesn't make you the villain. David held me through every hard night. He never said, "I told you so," even though he easily could have. He just kept saying, "I'm proud of you." And that meant more than anything, because this wasn't just about my wedding. It was about finally ending a lifetime of letting Lana take center stage in my life. And I was done playing supporting character. You know that weird feeling when everything's calm, but your body's still bracing for a fight? That was me. Days, even weeks after the wedding. We got through the chaos. The ceremony still happened. We danced. We laughed. We said, "I do." But it all played out under a cloud I hadn't fully processed. Because no matter how beautiful the flowers were, my sister had worn white, grabbed a mic, and tried to humiliate me in front of everyone I loved. That doesn't just disappear. Coming home from the honeymoon felt like walking into a different life. The apartment was the same. David was the same. But I wasn't. Something in me had hardened, or maybe clarified. I didn't want revenge. I didn't even want an apology from Lana anymore. I just wanted peace. But to get that, I had to stop pretending we were ever going to be okay. The first family fallout came fast. My mom called the day after we landed. "You've had your fun? Now can we talk about your sister?" My fun? Like getting publicly dragged at my own wedding was a vacation activity. "She feels awful," my mom continued. "She says you humiliated her in front of everyone." I just laughed. "No, Mom. She humiliated herself. I didn't give her that mic. She just wanted to be part of it. She wanted to take over it." I could hear her inhale through her nose. "You've always been hard on her." That was it for me. I said, "Mom, if you can't see the difference between setting boundaries and being hard on her, maybe we need to take a break too." She went quiet. Then she said, "Do what you want." and hung up. I cried after that call, not because I was sad about losing Lana. I'd already grieved that. I cried because I realized I was also losing the version of my mom I hoped existed. The one who'd finally have my back. The one who'd say, "I'm sorry we let her get away with so much." But that mom wasn't real. She was an idea I'd been keeping alive for years. The months that followed weren't easy. My dad tried to play peacekeeper, sending texts like, "You know how your sister is." David and I hosted Thanksgiving alone. Amira came. Jillian too. We watched movies in pajamas and ate too much pie and drank wine out of mugs. And you know what? It was peaceful. No drama, no one storming out or stealing attention, just people who loved each other and showed it. Then, right before New Year's, Lana sent a message. Not to me, to David. A long, winding paragraph. Something about things got out of hand and I was under a lot of pressure and maybe I overreacted. No actual apology, no ownership, just a vague, "Let's not let one day ruin a lifetime." He showed it to me. "Up to you," he said. "I'll block her right now if you want." But I didn't reply. Not because I was mad, I just wasn't interested. A few weeks later, Amira got engaged. She asked me to be her maid of honor. No family members in the bridal party, she joked. Just functional adults. We both laughed harder than we should have. When we started dress shopping, she pulled me aside and said, "I hope this helps you take your joy back." And it did. Standing beside someone who trusted me, who wanted me there for the right reasons, reminded me that I wasn't hard to love. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't the problem. I had just spent too long being the emotional punching bag for someone who didn't know how to cope with their own envy. Lana hasn't changed. At least not in any real way. She posts spiritual quotes on Instagram now. Talks about healing, about energy, about releasing negativity. But she's still playing the victim. Still telling anyone who will listen that I cut her off for a speech. Never mind the dress, the flirting, the sabotage, the years of making everything about her. She tells her side like it's a tragic misunderstanding. I don't tell mine. Not to anyone who wasn't there, because I don't need to explain the boundary I finally built. It's enough that I built it. David has been my rock, quietly supportive. No, I told you so, even though he earned the right 100 times over. He just keeps showing up. One night, months after everything, we were sitting on the couch and I asked, "Did we do the right thing?" With Lana? He looked at me and said, "You did the brave thing. You stopped letting people walk all over you. That's not wrong. That's healthy." I started to cry, not because I was sad, but because I finally believed him. Sometimes I still get flashes, moments where I think about what it could have looked like. A wedding with a supportive sister, a toast filled with love, not jealousy, a mother who pulled her daughter aside and said, "What you did was wrong. Apologize." But those are fantasy versions of people. And the truth is, you can't build real joy on fake foundations. You have to make room for what's real. And sometimes that means letting people fall out of your life, even if they're family. A few months ago, Jillian sent me a card. No reason. Just a note that said, "Some people ruin weddings. You built a marriage. That's what matters." I kept it on my fridge because she's right. I didn't lose my wedding. I lost the illusion that silence keeps the peace, that family deserves loyalty no matter how they treat you, and I'll never make that mistake again. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you want to share your stories, please comment below. Additionally, what is your opinion on the poster's decision?